Welcome to the Shaker Lane School Building Committee meeting for Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, sorry. And we'll start out with a comment from Mark Stafford from the OPM.
I just wanted to quickly say, for those that weren't on the FAS meeting, I just wanted to congratulate the team, the district and the designers for an incredible showing. It probably was one of the best FAS meetings I've been, the Facilities Assessment Subcommittee. They're the gateway of getting us into the next phase and reporting to the board of directors that the project's on the right track. We had some incredible comments from the constructively critical people that are on the board at the MSBA. It went extremely well. So for those that weren't there, I just want to update everybody and congratulate everybody on an excellent job. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thanks, Mark. So the agenda, I'll share the agenda. So first order of business is to approve meeting minutes. Do we have any meeting minutes to approve?
Minutes from the 15th of January.
There was those. Kelly, do you know? Was that sent? Did we send that out or?
I don't know if I was on that meeting.
Yeah, we did the minutes. I actually had my office do the minutes and
Oh, right.
Mark, and we sent them to Mark today. I'm not sure about the rest of the committee. I thought they might have been included here tonight, but I see they're not.
Yeah, sorry, I don't think we got to them in time. We can certainly pull them up. Give me a second here.
That would be great because we really do need that vote tonight.
Well, it's the vote from the. Yeah, let me.
Right.
Okay, I'll unshare my, if I can do that. Stop. Okay. Mark, if you want to put those minutes up.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just trying to find them. Okay, got them. Let's go through the fun of sharing the screen. All right, can you all see that?
Yes. Can you go in a little more?
There you go.
So this is the meeting of the 15th. Approve the prior meeting minutes, approve these invoices. Had a discussion about the orientation of the building. Set up a schedule for the next 4 or 5 meetings. Right. Budget update. And that was it.
Okay, any comments or questions on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes for January 15th?
I'll vote.
Second.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Ryan?
Ryan, yes.
Kelly?
Kelly, yes.
Stacy?
Stacy, yes.
Steve Venuti?
Steve Venuti, yes.
And Steve Moore, yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll
Screen's
go
all yours, sir.
And we'll go back to the agenda. Next is to review and approve the invoices for so let me pull those up. Here, screen, hello. Share screen. Okay, can everyone see this?
Yes, sir.
So we have 3 invoices for tonight. Got to get my glasses on. Turner Townsend, Harry, $13,557. Studio G Architects, $63,500. And Studio G Architects, I guess well,
Basic services and additional services.
it's for the same time period.
Correct.
$10,450. So if there are any questions, I'll turn that over to Mark. If not, I'll open it for a vote for approval.
Make a motion to approve the invoices as submitted.
In the amount of, let's get this straight here.
87,507 total.
I mean, in the amount of
87,000. Yep, 507.
$507, yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Ryan,
Ryan, yes.
Kelly,
Kelly, yes.
Scott. I'm sorry, Stacy,
Stacy Scott, yes.
Steve, Venuti,
Venuti, yes.
and Steve Moore, yes. So, that passes. Let's see if I can stop sharing this.
Mike Scuduto is joining us, Steve.
Oh, good.
Hello, Mike.
How you doing?
Welcome, Mike.
Sorry, I'm late.
Let's see, we'll go back to the agenda. The next item of business is Studio G official vote for the building orientation modifications per MSBA. So, Mark, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so Meryl or Mary Lee, you want to pull up the slides you had presenting for the piece? This is the change that was made to the building orientation that happened after we submitted the PSR and the FAS. And it was a change that happened because we got additional information concerning the septic system. And it's actually a benefit to the project, solar-wise, site-wise, etc. But because it came in afterwards, the MSBA requires us to do an official vote, and then we have to send over tomorrow the certified vote of tonight in order for them to include that as part of the Board of Directors meeting on the 26th. So, Marilee, if you want to just quick explanation of where we're at.
Yeah, is there anybody here who was not present at the last meeting where we went over this? All right, then I will be brief. Basically, you can see over here these pink areas where we thought we could potentially have a leaching field. And then because of the timing of when we submitted the PSR versus when the test pits and explorations were done, we found that these were no longer under consideration, which freed us up to rotate the building. So what we are moving forward with is this new orientation over here on the right. And this does several things to improve. It improves the solar orientation of many of the classrooms, and it makes this sort of backyard area where we have the outdoor learning and the outdoor play a little bit more sheltered and protected, because one of the reasons that this option was chosen in the first place was because there was a clear separation between spaces that were just for the school and for the students versus spaces that were open to community use. We kept all of the really important qualities, including the separate drive loops for buses and cars, plenty of parking, emergency access around the building, keeping it out of the wetlands and off the setback, and a few other things that we kept in place. And last time we spoke about this, nobody raised any objections. And so now the MSBA needs us to actually do an official vote on it.
Mark, is there something that you wrote down that as a proposed motion that would be reflected in the minutes?
I didn't, Ryan, honestly, because we can just accept the modification. The motion can be accepting the modification change to the building. As simple as that.
Okay.
So that's your motion? Or
Yes.
that is the motion?
That's the motion.
I
Is
think we
there a
need to
second?
specify that it's the building orientation. That's kind of all that's changed. I think we should be deliberate because that was their concern. So if we can add the phrase orientation, building orientation, since that was what they took issue with us not sharing with you all. If that can
So
be.
the
Chairman, may I make a try on that one? So may I make a motion to support the new building orientation modification for submittal to the MSBA?
Perfect.
Okay,
Motion or
roll call vote, Ryan,
Was that second? That was seconded by Kelly. I just want to make
Yes.
sure. Is that right?
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, and I'll vote in favor.
Kelly,
Kelly, yes.
Stacy,
Stacy, yes.
Steve Venuti,
Steve Venuti, yes.
Mike Scuduto,
Mike Scuduto, yes.
and Steve Moore, yes.
Excellent.
Outstanding.
Thank you very much for that formality.
So, Mark, you said that the motion from this meeting has to be submitted to the MSBA tomorrow. What's the mechanism
Correct.
for that?
So I have a draft of what they call the local approval ordinance that goes in as part of the PSR submittal. So we're doing a new one for tomorrow that I already have drafted. And now based on this vote, I'll add the vote to it. I'll get it to Ryan tomorrow, and it just needs to be signed by the school committee, the town administrator, and we're good to go. We just need to submit it by tomorrow.
And Kelly, I'll probably set it up with DocuSign and then circulate it thereafter.
Sounds good to
Okay.
me.
Right. Okay, the next order of business is discussion on design bid build over CM at risk. Mark, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so it's that time now. We've talked about this for a little while about what's going to be the method of delivery for the project as we go beyond schematic design and get into bidding, construction documents, bidding, construction, etc. So we sent out a form to you guys about a week ago, sort of like a PDF that just had a breakdown, which is exactly the same information that's put on the slide here. Just looks a lot nicer. We asked if you guys could take a look at it, maybe come prepared with some questions or anything about what you feel or how you feel about ZBB versus CMR. We are just providing you with this information. It's up to the committee to make their decision. And I would like to start this discussion, but we are looking at schematic design being submitted in June. We need to have cost estimates done probably in May. So we need to have the delivery method kind of decided upon because that will affect what the budget numbers will be because we do have to have a new cost estimate put together for the submission to schematic design. So you all can look at this tonight. You can digest it a little bit. We can talk about it maybe at the next meeting or earlier because we do need a decision. Or if there's a strong feeling either way, if you want to vote on it tonight, you can also do that. So it's open for discussion. So anybody that has any questions about the advantages or disadvantages of each delivery method, as Studio G put this great slide together, let's talk about it.
So, Mark, do you have a recommendation?
If you're asking me what our recommendation would be based on the cost of the project currently, with construction manager at risk as a delivery method getting close to $104 million, based on the way the project is designed, off in the woods by itself without much phasing or any things like that, I would lean towards design bid build unless changes can be made to get the project cost under $100 million. That would be my opinion.
If I can, could I add the architecture side of this, if that's okay?
Sure.
So we all watch the news. So essentially, our stance, and we've worked on other projects previously under the CMR procurement method, our stance would be construction management at risk in the sense you get the team players in earlier for cost estimating, decision making, as far as how things are going to unfold for the construction. They're more of a construction manager becomes a partner in the process. So that's the way, as the architects, we look at it as far as forming the cost estimate, because everything is really very much in flux right now as far as estimating goes. So that's our perspective. So, and again, as Mark said, this is a decision for you all. We're providing you with the information in a non-biased way here. So we're certainly open to discussion.
So Mark, why do you recommend design bid build over CM at risk?
My concern, Steve, is based on that last public meeting that we had at the Shaker Lane School, and the reaction from the general public there at the cost was overwhelming. I'm overwhelmingly shocked about how much money it might cost. I'd hate to see all this great work get up to a vote and then not pass. So that's really my concern. I agree. CM at risk has great advantages for getting a team in early, getting things worked out. You can work out, any changes that may be, added later that can be picked up early. There's a lot of pros and cons to both of these. My only concern really is the cost. And we've got a bevy of questions in three, so let's go. I think Stacy, you were the first one up. What do you got?
Yeah, so my question for this, just based on what you guys have been saying. So the, what is it? The DBB, it can be like 4 to 6% lower for costs, right? But it seems like with the CMR at risk, we may have more upfront information. Maybe, is it possibly more accurate? So like when we are coming to voters, we know that generally those numbers aren't going to change too much. Like what's going to give us the most accurate picture when it's actually time to vote?
Well, the two differences between DBB and CMR, one of the major ones is design bid build is the architect does a set of documents. They put it out to bid. They get the lowest responsible bidder. That person, general contract, wins the job and they go. CMR, you work with them early in the project, but they have to submit a guaranteed maximum price because they have to say, hey, this project is going to cost $90 million. And they have to stick to it. So you will know what those numbers will be as we start going in. They're responsible to get subcontractors and file subbidders and things like that. But so, yeah, you will have an idea of what's going on. So there's a lot more control. I mean, you want to call it quality control, definitely with the CMR, but you pay for that premium. And that's the only issue.
Yeah, I would add to that it's not necessarily about which is more accurate. It's about getting input from a construction expert while we're still doing design to talk about ways to save money or find efficiencies or, perhaps different products to use, different methods, so that when the project is bid out, we know that we have already done a lot to value engineer as much as possible.
Yeah, and there may be construction trends at the time, a year or so from now, that might be long lead time items and things that they're going to know from the industry that we may have to do early bid packages and certain things because of that. So there are definitely, advantages to that. Mr. Venuti.
Two things. First thing, talk about cost for a second. Finance Committee and the Select Board just got through some of their budget meetings. We had a presentation on a plan that we could do internally in the town to fund some of the school without taxpayer impact. And if you remember at town meeting, we had a range of 1,400 to 1,800. 1,800 was CM at risk for the one we're choosing, 3.1, and it was 1,850. By putting money aside, pre-construction and post-construction in two different accounts, we have that number down to $995 on the average home from 1,850.
Nice.
It's going to take a lot of effort. We have buy-in from both boards now, but by the time this is done, these boards could turn over. So we're going to try and formalize a little policy that we can, have future boards follow this as best they can. So this is the number that's out there right now. We have the tax calculator up on the website. It's based on this model. So I just want to put that out there before we talk about this. SEMA at risk versus DBB. I have my opinions, but I would really like to hear from Steve and Mike about their experiences, because the last two buildings we've done have been SEMA at risk. So
Great segue to Mr. Scaduto.
So, I'm gonna jump in here because
Oh,
I used to be a contractor, and we were always design, bid, build. And as a contractor, when I was doing my takeoff, at the same time I was preparing my change order log, because I could tell what was missing in the plans and the specifications. And believe me, that was more than 5% of what
Yep.
you're going to pay. I don't even know that there's a premium nowadays for SEMA at risk, but I know that design, bid, build will ultimately cost more than SEMA at risk, from my experience.
Michael?
Yep. Yeah, because I know with the SEMA at risk, I mean, I'm biased. I'd want all my jobs sort of pseudo negotiated like that, but with the SEMA at risk, you can bring them on board early, and then you could even chop off that 4 to 6% potentially. With you'll pay a premium up front, but you could, I don't want to say target value design type stuff, but you could try to manage to a budget to try to with the VE value management process, and having their input on logistics and early pricing and lead times is invaluable in my opinion. And bidding at this moment, I mean, the market's pretty competitive on bidding on private and public work, and everyone's trying to see how low they can get to just get work, because the market's not really the best. So I'd be definitely leaning more towards SEMA at risk. And then you can sort of control who is pricing the job a little better and getting qualifications up front from folks versus waiting to see who you get.
Yeah, if you guys go SEMA at risk, there's a whole process: applications, proposals, interviewing, selecting your CM, basically your construction manager / contractor is part of it, and that's something we'd have to get going too. And also remember, we're a year plus away from bidding, so
Yep.
God only knows what's going to happen in the world in a year and a half or so from now. Suresh, you had a comment? Thanks, Michael.
Yep.
Suresh? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think both sides of the coin are equally attractive. We're currently working on 3 different projects, and both in the same $90 million range, all DBB. So the question always is, there's other projects ongoing right now under DBB, are being bid by DBB. So most of the, these contracts, the change orders are usually under the 4 to 5% range, more like 2 to 3%. MSB only reimburses you 1% of their change orders, no matter which way they look at it. It's 1% only of the reimbursable cost, and that to 1% reimbursable cost. So you really don't get too much from the MSB in any form or shape. So it all depends upon the designer and their team as to how good the drawings are. Yes, we will be looking at them and reviewing them and working with them. But ultimately, it's a designer who needs to produce a set of documents with their consultants, which are industry standards. And yes, they won't be perfect, no question. You will not find perfect documents, but there will be, there should be a reasonable set of documents that contractors can bid. And the competition right now is almost pretty fierce. Like Mike said, there are 5 to 7 contractors bidding on a $90 million project. So that's always there. So the choice is always you flip the coin sometimes, say which way do you want to go, save some money or take some risk. Both are equally attractive. The choice is always difficult to make, and hindsight is 2020. So I'll leave it at that.
So we did the police department design bid build. We did the fire station design bid build. We had lots of problems on both of them. We did the library as CM at risk. It was a tremendous success. We're in the process of doing the senior center CM at risk. That's going very well. I think from a perspective of projects in the town, CM at risk has been shown to be more successful.
Excellent. Mr. Venuti.
I agree with Steve and Mike. That's the way I'd be leading. But Suresh just mentioned if we go design, bid, build, and there's change orders, MSBA limits what they cover. Does MSBA limit anything on the CM at risk?
It's the same procedure, no different.
So
Same.
there's owner contingency and construction contingency, and usually what we found both in the town and at MBTA where I work, most of the changes are owner requested.
Hmm.
Which are not covered by MSBA.
Right.
But the chances of change orders are greater on the design, bid, build than they would be at CM at risk.
Potentially.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
would say so.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, they still appear in the other side, but they're limited usually.
I mean, we don't have to make a decision tonight, but it's a good discussion. Mark, when do you need a decision on the delivery method?
Sooner than later, Steve. And seeing that we only meet once a month and our next scheduled meeting is March 12th, we need a decision before then. So I don't know if we have to either call for a special meeting just to make a vote on that. Mara, what were we talking about? Early March, we need a decision?
Yeah, I'd say, I guess if I can, well, I see Stacy has her hand raised. Maybe we entertain that and then I can certainly circle back, but.
Yeah, well, no, I was just going to say, so we have talked about this throughout the process of a lot of the different presentations that we've had. So I feel like maybe generally speaking, we're pretty familiar with it. I don't know if we want to just see if we can get a vote for it or if people have more questions to dive in, but it seems like time-wise, if we have a majority or any more questions to go through, we might as well just see if we can get that to Mark today, if we can. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I'm ready to vote.
If you're all ready to vote and you want to vote, it's totally up to you.
This is Kelly. I'm certainly ready to entertain a motion and see how the group feels.
Well, same here.
Yep.
So why don't we make a motion to vote for the delivery method for this project for CM at risk and see where that goes. So is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Ryan?
I'm going to vote in favor of CM at risk.
Kelly?
Yes for CM at risk.
Stacy?
Stacy, yes.
Steve Venuti?
Steve Venuti, yes.
Mike Scaduto?
Mike Scaduto, yes for CM at risk.
And Steve Moore, yes for CM at risk. Motion carries. So we have a
That's
delivery
great.
method.
That's great. Thank you. Honestly, didn't think we'd vote on it tonight, so that's awesome. It's going to save us some. We know the path now. We know the direction, and there's, like I said, there's a process we have to start putting applications together, and we have to interview and do all that to get this together. But
Yeah.
that certainly saves a lot of time. So thanks, everybody.
Understood. Yep. Right.
Thank you all.
Good.
Really appreciate the conversation.
I think it was an easy conversation, but anyway, we had to go through the process.
Yeah.
Next item is establish a sustainability subcommittee and goals.
All right, so I'm going to leave this calendar up for the next two agenda items because it's important to keep in mind our deadlines and the timeline as we move through this. The Sustainability Subcommittee, it's important that we get some decisions made soon so that it can make it into our estimate, such as selecting the mechanical system and identifying targets that we need to meet in terms of energy saving and meeting the stretch code, and if there's any other initiatives that Littleton wants to undertake with this. So what we're asking for right now is the establishment of a sustainability subcommittee, and the commitment for this would be most likely 2 meetings. We're looking at one tentatively for the end of February or maybe the first week in March, and the second one would be ideally the last week in March. And I don't know if anybody has any questions before there's discussion on this.
Well, I have a question. I know you were talking with the town sustainability committee, or that it may have been Merrill. I know Studio G has been speaking with them. Have you? And we're at a window now where we can talk about that and try to engage with them. Is there anything that you've talked about with them now in terms of how they may want to be involved in this process?
I think that they were concerned that decisions were being made without their input. And so luckily, we realized that there was a meeting, I think earlier this week or the end of last week, and Merrill was able to attend it. And they had some great questions for her. Actually, I'll probably let Merrill speak about this, but they have not given any real input yet, but they are excited to be involved.
Yeah, essentially, they just want to make sure that their charge is heard as part of how we design and things that we consider. So they want to have an influence on the project and make sure that we're addressing climate and sustainability and everything that we can do in creating a building to help with the Littleton charge as far as making sure that it's a sustainable project. So all open for discussion. We're picking mechanical systems soon. We're picking, all these things that we can do to really get another voice in the room from another perspective. So hopefully there's nice representation from the Sustainability Committee, but also we're looking for folks from the Finance Committee to make sure that we're keeping things within budget, of course, because that's the ultimate, to make sure that we're listening to the comments with a lens towards the budget and the estimate that we're going to be pulling together. So,
Merrill, can I ask? So is the determination we need to find a mechanical system first, or do we determine first? What level of LEED certification are we seeking? It seems as if maybe the latter might be the better, and then figure out what system we would need to pursue thereafter.
Right. So it's all of that and some, in the sense we want to hear the goals. We want to establish goals, sustainability goals for the town of Littleton for this project. What kind of things should we be looking at? What's the appetite for different measures that could reduce in energy use intensity, could reduce the EUI? Would an all-electric, I know that there's been some discussions internally about having an all-electric building. Well, what does that mean? What is it going to cost? What are the implications? So these type of discussions are starting as we're forming the building and needing to have, what kind of mechanical space do we need? Yeah.
I think at some point we need to have this all tied in with some kind of an estimate, because we could go net zero and that could blow the budget.
Yes,
Right.
and that's why we need to
Yeah.
figure it out now, so that anything that we decide on goes into the estimate. So we're setting it up so that there's guardrails so that any decision that is made should fit into the budget or at least be attainable. And so we're setting sort of three different categories. Category one is what you're going to get just by default of having a building using the new energy code and being qualifying for an MSBA project, which requires LEED Silver. Category
Correct.
two is things that, for example, your stretch code community and you have the Green Ribbon schools. Do you want to achieve any of those goals for the school project? And then category three is sort of the furthest reach, the things that, you know, if anybody has any suggestions about how many electric vehicle chargers we want, or conversations about our PV panels, do they make sense financially if you're getting such a great electric rate? So that's sort of how the conversations are going to go.
Yeah, and if it's all electric, you're going to go ground source heat pumps. Like, there's so many things that need to be looked at as part of this process. So just take a step back. Everything that Marilee just said, follow the requirements of the MSBA. LEED Silver is a minimum that we have to meet. You go beyond that, that's fine. You're a stretch community, so we have to stretch code, and the new energy code is pretty significant. We reached out
Might
to
be
Sarah,
changing.
chair of the sustainability committee a while back, and Merrill and Matt, when our office attended one of the meetings, and it was great because they had a great back and forth. There's a woman, Charlotte, that Michelle Kane asked to join, and she's willing to join too. So we'd like to have a subcommittee with a couple of people from this committee and a couple of people from the town sustainability committee. Always like to have an odd number if we have a vote. So 3 to 5 people, most likely 5 at this point, to start having these conversations and kind of make these decisions about what the goals are, and then bring this information up to the committee at the committee meetings. So that's the establishment. All these things that we're talking about will be part of it. The Green Engineers, a great company that Studio G will be working with. They're going to make a presentation about the sustainability aspects of everything. So this is another conversation like the previous one with DBB and CMR. We really need to get going and need a direction from the committee and the goals of what they'd like to achieve, you know, for this project in this building.
So just to clarify that a bit, so as we've been doing with the design, there's a subcommittee. So the subcommittee discusses, meets, has conversations, has dialogue. We give and take that information. Then we bring it to the SBC and say, hey, this is what was discussed. We wanted to share this with you. So it's going to be a similar method where we meet with the subcommittee, the sustainability subcommittee, have these workshops, and then at the end, have their recommendations that they bring to the SBC. So at the end of the discussions, we'll say, this is what was discussed. So it's that type of conversation.
So when you say this is what was discussed, are you saying this is what we recommend?
A recommendation to bring forward, yes, to the
A
SBC.
recommendation.
Yes.
And will there be, my concern about this whole sustainability thing is I'm very much for, you know, as much green as we can afford, but I'm concerned that a recommendation may be more than we can afford. Will we be getting a menu of recommendations A, B, C, D, or is it just one recommendation?
Barely.
So this, it's a little, because of that exact reason, it's a little bit less clear cut than the other decisions that were assisted by the subcommittee. So in this case, right now, we're looking at 3 different mechanical systems. And so the subcommittee would really go into depth of discussing the pros and cons of each. And then the subcommittee would, less of a recommendation, more of a presenting what was discussed, so the full SBC can make sure that they understand enough to make an informed vote.
Yeah, but will that subcommittee have dollar amounts associated with those recommendations?
So the 3 systems that we're considering right now were part of our previous submissions estimate. So we know how much each of those options cost.
And then
since they were part of our previous submission.
one thing that's going to happen between the two meetings is our consultant is going to do a life cycle cost analysis so that we'll have information, not just the upfront cost, but also long-term maintenance and life expectancy of the system.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Kelly, you had your hand up?
Thank you, I do. First of all, I'd like to echo what Mary Lee has said. I really personally shy away from subcommittees making recommendations. I think it's more advantageous for them to present scenarios to the full committee. I would also like to see any information that you have compared to the increase in percent reimbursement, because I think that's really important as well, to have that whole story. If we have three different scenarios and we look at life expectancy and cost, I think we really need to find out how much more money we're going to get by doing these things and being as green as we can be.
That's a
Mike?
great point.
It's well said.
Just to have a quick question. So you mentioned the mechanical systems. What other types of items will the subcommittee need to be taking a look at? Is it sort of whether or not we want geothermal or different facade elements that might be more sustainable than others?
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's necessarily materials, because any material that we use is sort of baked into the LEED Silver that it needs to be a sustainable material to a certain level. Also, among the baseline things you're going to get is going to be healthy air quality on the inside. So there's a lot of stuff that's baked into just what you're going to get by way of it being a new school. Some of the other things that affect costs are going to be, do you want it PV ready or do you want actual PVs on the building? There are some options of what you can do in terms of charging stations, especially considering that more and more electric vehicles are going to be in place. Part of that is driven by state laws. Others are just interest in it. Some other things are looking into ways that the municipal utility could assist, maybe with battery storage on site or something else. So there's quite a few, but the mechanical system selection is really the big one.
Okay.
Stacy, you have your hand up? No. Also, I mean, driving a lot of this too, I think from the very starting point, is this project going to be fossil free? Are you getting off of gas? Do you not want to be on natural gas anymore? If that's the case, then it's an all electric building. If it's an all electric building, that goes down a certain path. What extent do you take the all electric building? Do you supply it with renewables? Like Mary Lee mentioned, do you have solar? Do you have ground source heat pumps or geothermal as part of like a renewable process? So, I mean, a subcommittee can look at things like that. Are you going to increase the insulation on the exterior? Are you going to have triple glazing? Are you going to have like passive house standards? How, to what level outside of the silver LEED, the energy code and the stretch code, that at a minimum, we got to meet those and then get up to the 4 points or 4% from the MSBA. That's kind of the direction. If the appetite for the district, for the committee and the town is get off of gas, that's a starting point. So now we know if we're going to go all electric, then we go down that path. So those are the things that we need to start deciding about soon.
I think that's where the life cycle costs come into play. Okay.
Great.
So,
45, folks.
when do we need to set up this committee?
Right now.
Yeah, we're off and running.
Come on,
in the
guys.
sense-
I mean, this is just in time, meeting stuff. This is crazy. But so what's the next step to set up the subcommittee then?
So we're looking for volunteers.
Yeah.
There should be a nice representation from the SBC, finance folks. Charlotte is on the Town of Littleton Sustainability Committee, so she's already on board. We'd like
As is Sarah, right? Is Sarah joining us too?
That's a question we can ask.
Those would not be voting members.
Right.
Like, they're only voting people. And I actually, you know what? The
There's no
subcommittee is not
voting.
going to vote on anything. So
Right.
Is it
And
that?
these are also public meetings so it will need to be posted 48 hours in advance. So we'd like folks with expertise or folks who would be interested in joining us. And then there's follow-up questions that will find a date and time that work for everybody, whether
Yeah.
in person or remote. And there's other aspects that once we get the committee, we can certainly reach out and make an informed decision that works for everyone as far as meeting times and places and dates go.
What do we want? 5 members on the committee?
5 would be good, because if we're looking at 2 from the sustainability group, possibly, 5 would be great. If we have 3, that's fine too.
Why do we want 2 from sustainability?
Well, they volunteered. They heard about it. They wanted to be part of it.
I think just Charlotte, as my understanding, and we can certainly circle back with them, is that Charlotte would represent the committee and bring the information
Okay.
back to them. And then also they have their meeting in the first week of March. So again, if we can loop her into the discussion and then she can bring the information back to the Littleton Sustainability Committee.
All right, so Charlotte from the sustainability group.
Yeah.
2 people from here would be great.
We
And I would.
have a lot of talent on our PMBC, and from my point of view, it'd be really nice to have somebody on there that has commercial construction experience.
Mike, do you
You're volunteering me? Okay.
Mike?
Yeah, sure. I'm going through this on a residential job right now.
Nice.
Okay, cool.
It's
Thanks, Mike. Sorry about that.
And, I guess absent any other member, I guess I'd be on there also.
Excellent.
So we need 2 more.
I think if I can recommend, I see him on, but Steve Mark would be a great resource if he's willing and able, not to put you on the spot there. I see him on, but I think just from the district side, as far as this goes, he has also the utilities and a good comprehension of the building system there.
That's fine. I'm not a voting member of this committee, but that's fine. I can be on that committee if you want me to.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Steve.
Very good. Okay, 1 more.
Mark, if they're not voting, do they really need an odd number?
No, that's true. They don't. I suppose we
Good
can leave it
point.
at 4. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, we can keep it at 4 then. They're making recommendations and scenarios to the committee for the vote. So
I thought I saw Steve Venuti raise his hand there. No? Okay.
So can I ask a question? What kind of resources is this committee going to have as far as coming up with different scenarios and then getting what's that cost impact?
So our strategy for the first meeting, so there's things that we have to do just to meet energy code and just to meet MSBA requirements. So we're kind of going to set that baseline, and then what else are we layering onto that go above and beyond for sustainability measures? And what are your goals? Steve, did that answer your question? I'm feeling like it might have not, but tell me if that clarifies.
No, I don't think it answered the question, but are we going to be able to reach out to Studio G and say, hey, these are what we've discussed. We need to know the price impact on the project cost and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I think when the committee meets, Steve, Studio G will be bringing options to you, and they'll be laying out exactly what Marilee said earlier. 1, 2, 3. What are we looking at? What are the cost implications potentially? The all electric, et cetera, for the discussion to say leaning towards one system or another, or one possibility or another. So that's the first meeting. They'll bring the information to you to decide. And if there's Q&A and back and forth, that'll certainly happen. But they'll lay that at the committee for the discussion.
Okay.
So we need to.
And that first meeting is on the 25th. Is that correct?
That is our suggested, but now that we know who's on the subcommittee, we can reach out and make sure we've got a time that works for everybody.
I mean, that's okay for me.
Was that February 25th?
Yes.
Yes. Right here.
So I'll circle back with you all because there are some questions that we have, whether we want to meet in person, whether we want to do this remote, what time of day, evening. So let us pull together kind of a questions before we commit and nail down a time, if that's okay. You'll be hearing from me soon.
That sounds
Is
good.
that
Yep.
daytime is good, Steve?
Daytime? No.
Steve Mark says yes. Steve Moore says no.
I mean, virtual is okay. Daytime, maybe, but
I can do either.
Okay. So that type of logistics we'll have to iron out now that we know who's involved. So
Awesome. All right, we have 8 minutes, folks, who want to breeze through this. So keeping this slide up here.
wait, we have to vote on it though, Mark.
Oh, sorry. Vote.
Thanks.
okay. Is there a motion to approve the sustainability subcommittee with let's see,
Mike Scaduto, Charlotte, Steve Moore, and Steve Marsh.
Charlotte, Charlotte, Mike, Steve Moore, and Steve Venuti. Not Steve.
Steve Mark.
Steve
You gotta
Mark.
get you in there anyway.
I keep trying to pull him in there.
You do.
I think there's
So
a law
moved.
of having too many Steves on a committee.
That's it.
Okay.
Somebody moved the motion, so I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call vote. Ryan,
Ryan, yes.
Kelly,
Kelly, yes.
Stacy,
Stacy, yes.
Steve Venuti,
Steve Venuti, yes.
Mike Scaduto,
Mike Scaduto, yes.
and
You're
Steve
right.
Moore. Yes. Okay. Motion carries. Next, we have
Calendar. Yeah, we're gonna look at the calendar here while we have it up. So the big dates that are coming up now are the subcommittee of we're February 26th is the vote for the MSB board to approve us to move beyond, approve the PSR and move us into schematic design. Again, based on what we saw at FAS, we believe that this should be okay, and I think we'll be moving on from that. So then they get into full schematic design, talking about different subcommittee meetings to talk about sustainability systems, etc. Next meeting for the committee will be on the 12th. We get into April. We have some design updates. We have a meeting on the 16th. We're looking at getting the SD package out to estimators early May. Town meeting is May 6th. We'll talk about that in a minute. And we want to make sure that we get the estimates back because we're submitting final SD package to the MSBA on the 26th of June. And we'll be voting it the week before to go ahead. So we have some work ahead of us. I think there's enough time to do that, but that's the layout for the schedule right now.
Mark, can I jump in there real quick?
Sure.
So we put these dates on here. We haven't cleared them with everybody, right, for the SBCs. So I think a couple of thoughts on this essentially is it would be good now that the community is getting involved and the word is getting out that this project is happening. It would be great if we could have these on the SBC's calendar for going forward so that if a community member in April wants to join us, they can know that it's happening. So these circle dates, this is the middle of the month. We're hoping this is what works for everybody. We haven't cleared it with everybody yet. So I'm not sure how that happens as far as procedurally, as far as these mid-month SBC meetings. So a couple food for thought there. Just so when you see these dates, you say, I didn't know about that. So just wanted to kind of put that disclaimer on it.
Well, just to clarify, Meryl, we agreed to these dates at the last subcommittee meeting, at the last school building committee meeting. We have them listed.
Okay,
For
all right.
4 months. So they're there.
Perfect.
I agree that they've been totally like set in stone. But we had a
Yeah.
discussion about that last week. That's why we're here for the last
Perfect.
meeting.
Okay.
So if there are changes, we can certainly do that. But so that's where we are at the schedule. We're right up against it. Our budget is real quick. It is doing okay. We did get proposals in for another amendment that I'll be sharing with the group tomorrow. We do have some additional site work that still needs to be done. It's happening over February school vacation. They have a few more test bits that they have to do and some more testing. So that's putting us right up against the budget. We've got some money left over, but we're getting right up to the end. So we'll be monitoring that going forward. The last item we wanted to talk a little bit about the pre-town meeting Q&A session, and I know there's been a couple of back and forth emails about that and the process of meeting before the meeting or after the meeting. So we wanted to start that discussion and see exactly what your guys' appetite is for doing something like that.
If I could speak to that, I think, Steve Moore, you made a point earlier today about trying to do something before town meeting. I think, it's a question of when to start. It would seem like because of the scope of this project and what it means, it would seem to me that if town meeting starts at 7, to begin the session at 6, to allow for some Q&A. My thought is it would be prudent to do it, and for us as a group to focus in terms of the presentation. At that time, we wouldn't be under a limitation in terms of how long the presentation would be, but I think we probably should aim for something along the lines of 15 minutes. That probably anything further than that, I think you tend to lose some of the audience's attention. But at least when I think of this, I think of it, a slide deck for about 15 minutes, and then question and answer after that. So that's my feeling on it. I think I still need to talk to the town moderator to make sure that he's okay with it. While it's not technically town meeting per se, out of courtesy, I would want to make sure that he was okay with it. But I think conceptually, starting a little bit earlier and trying to roll this out and give it a bigger format where the seats are already there, and I think that could be, I think that can work.
So my comment on the whole thing is, remember how much time we talked about the forget the name of the property, but
the Webster property?
Yeah, just internally we spent hours on that, and if that question comes up in this question and answer, it's going to kind of take over the entire 20 minutes or 25 minutes that we've allocated. And, I think to me, it's disingenuous to give the residents 25 minutes for question and answer before they're going to vote on the biggest project that this town has ever undertaken.
So just to clarify, Steve, what I was talking about was start like we wouldn't have technically any vote at the annual town meeting, and then we start at 6. We do, let's say, like a 15-minute presentation, allow for 45 minutes of question and answer. At least that's my take on it. And then, okay, everybody, we're starting town meeting. Could you please make sure that you go in the front of the, we have to probably break maybe a little bit earlier, just maybe it's like a 50-minute session so that people have the opportunity then to go and check in for the annual town meeting too, because we have to then give them their clickers and such with that. So I'm open to suggestion, but that's just to kind of kick things off in terms of how
So
we
we're not voting on any budget at town meeting?
No.
Well, you're voting on the town budget, but not on the Shaker Lane budget.
Okay.
We can, sometimes when you're in these situations, you don't know what's going to happen until you're there and actually immersed in it. So if we find that there are more questions than we have time to answer, we can do one or two things or both of them, and they can submit questions and we'll answer them, or we can hold another forum at a later date. We still have a lot of time. I do feel that more people are finding out about the project. We're always going to have pockets of people that don't know about the project. We need to figure out how to reach them. I know we hijacked the message boards in town, and that was
great.
thing.
Yeah.
But I'd like to compete with the Department of Transportation with some catchy slogans. And so if you have it,
It sounds like somebody has to commute with Steve Moore in the morning and talk to all the people on the train.
there you go. Could set up shop on the key.
Yeah. Steve, I think we found out you're a morning person. I think that's how we've learned this.
Saying that, we're right at 8:00. If you want to keep the discussion going online, the emails and such about the town meeting, we can certainly do that. Any public comment? People, I know Tom Zoop is here, and some other people. If anybody else has any comment from the public?
Okay, then, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, wait a minute. No, we have to,
What do you have to?
the next meeting is, March
12th.
Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yep,
Mhm.
back to the Wednesday. Yep.
Okay, is
Yeah.
there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call vote, Ryan,
Ryan, yes.
Kelly,
Kelly, yes.
Stacy,
Stacy, yes.
Steve Venuti,
Stephen Nudi, yes.
Mike Scuduto,
Mike Scuduto, yes.
and Steve Moore, yes. Great,
Great.
thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
See you
Have a good
later.
night.